Wow. We're AfroCannes, and today I'm so excited because the next guest I'm going to be speaking to is simply a legend. She is the first woman in international distribution. She's based out of the USA and she's done some amazing things. I can't wait to hear it all. Miss Levine, it's so great to have you here.
Thank you. Call me Sydney, please.
Sydney, yes. Now, tell me a little bit about your amazing, I know it's a long journey, but, give me an overview of some of the amazing things you've done. Because I was listening to some of the things earlier and I was like, wow.
Thank you. So I was raised in LA. I had no notion of going into film. I was raised right behind the MGM studios. So we'd climb over the fence if we could. We'd look at the movie stars. I'd collect autographs. But I had no notion of ever. So I got my master's in education. After teaching 5 years, I really found it wasn't for me. And my friend said, come in the film business. It's fun. So I thought, fun, that's nice. I'm really tired of working so hard. So I became a secretary at a talent agency. At that time, in the 70s, one had to be a secretary to move up. And moving up was not really possible, but you could try. And they liked me because I knew how to run a projector, so I could watch the movies that they had to show of their clients. I liked taking the minutes of the meetings, so I learned how the operation of the motion picture department of this major talent agency worked. The talent agency eventually became CAA like 2 years ago, but it was ICM. Before that, it was IFA, which is when I started. And I trained in international film distribution at a moment where there were absolutely no women. And the law said, if you're qualified and you're a woman, they cannot say no. So 20th Century hired me. And the lawyer even said, we don't really want women here. The lawyer himself said that. Wow. But I trained in Holland. I realized I did not like the major studio bureaucracy, the male chauvinism. It was really tough. There was no word for sexual, whatever we call it, sexual harassment.
Yeah.
There wasn't any word. So I thought I was just going nuts. People don't act like that. So I left and went back into educational short films, and I grew into buying for video feature films. And I worked with Lorimar, which had made Dallas the best-selling series ever. And I bought feature films from around the world. And what I always liked, starting in college, was international cinema. So I was a film buyer. And technology always makes things more accessible to more people. It's very democratic. So at that moment, a database came into being. And I thought all of us acquisition people who use Xeroxes and faxes could really classify films by genre, by stage of production, by title, by where they're screening and who to reach. There were no directories. So I created a database for film buyers, programmers for festivals, and sales agents that were looking for brand new films with no sales agent. And before Cannes, Berlin, and the American film market, I would list where films were screening, how to reach the person representing them, if the rights were available for the territory you were buying for. And that became the standard for the industry.
Wow.
When Jerome Paillard became director of the Cannes Film Festival market, he said to friends, I don't know who I'm leasing screening rooms to. I don't know what they're screening. How do I get a grip on this? And someone said, call Sydney. She has the whole database of everything. So we worked together to create Cinando.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
no kidding.
Yeah. And it was very exciting. He said at that point, which was, I started this database in 1988. And I think he came on board in 1989. And we were partners for a long time. It was very exciting. At that moment, he said, the market doesn't make any money. So don't expect money, but you'll be a partner for life, he said. Wow. And we had a contract. So I always was doing things with the Berlin market because they knew I was working with Cannes market. And we worked together. We did producers network. We set up a lot. And I was always outside the bureaucracy of the system, which I like. So we did that. And then 2000, the internet came into being. And I sold my company to another company who didn't really succeed because with these startups, most of them fail. So I got my database back and I continued working freelance, working with the markets, doing whatever, and helping filmmakers, consulting with them. But I love international and I love startups. I love the grassroots, to see the shoots. I was born in the spring, and I love to see the springtime.
Wow.
So I really loved Latin America for 5 years. I was into Latin cinema, salsa, loved salsa. Oh, the music, which is key today for me.
Right.
I wrote a book on international film financing in Latin America. It was published by University of Guadalajara. Then I moved into Middle Eastern films because that was growing. It was exciting. And recently, I mean, I've always followed African cinema. I can't say I've always loved African cinema. When it first began, it was always long shots and beautiful scenery, people moving really slowly and very Frenchified, right? So now we can talk about post-colonialism. I'm going on and on. Sorry. You ask a question.
Well, I mean, you actually talked almost about my next question, which was about distributing African content. Tell me about how it was then and now.
Yeah, well, African films would be in Cannes, hardly in Berlin. This year there was a lot in Berlin. But it would be in the festivals, period, the end. Then with home video, eventually there was a fabulous Nigerian filmmaker in New York who kind of almost made it out into other festivals. His films were really good. I don't know where he is. He had George's Mother. That's the title I remember. I don't know what he's doing today. I don't think he's made a film in a while. So it was very hard to get money because there was no distribution. Now, there might have been, Nigeria was growing, of course, but Nigerian films are so local that they didn't spread internationally, but they did great in Africa. It was tough, and it's still tough. Now it's very tough for any film to get distribution because theaters are not bringing in any money. People are not going like they did before Cannes. They've lost the older market, which is my market, me. We don't go to cinema anymore. I do. I always go to cinema. So again, it's the time of growth. And you see there's an explosion. And suddenly I became aware of African arts are everywhere. You watch CNN and they have this whole devotion to African arts and it's just exploding. And the cinema too. So I turned my eye toward Africa maybe 2 years ago, just started watching movies. It's still a work in progress. Distribution, especially. Yeah. It's so hard to make a movie. It's even harder to get distribution.
Right. Yeah. Now, as veteran distributor, there are a lot of filmmakers here in the audience. What would you say to them? You said something earlier. The Nigerian films previously were very local, not for the international market. Now, what would you say to a filmmaker about how to maintain their authenticity at the same time make their films to appeal to a wider international audience?
Well, people have spoken to that already. I mean, first of all, you got to be yourself. If you love yourself, you know who you are. And you want to expose the world to who you are because you have something to say. And you need to be well-trained. And you need to have a really good editor. Last night I saw How to Become a Guinea Fowl. And it was a beautiful movie, fabulous. Except there were points where I thought this needed a better editor. It needs a better editor. So you've really got to be sharp. And I liked what my predecessor here, what she said. Create your own family of people with talent who share your vision because you need to align your vision together. You can't be fighting, and it's a dysfunctional family at best. Aren't we all somehow in dysfunctional families? So it's really tough, but that's what I think.
Wow, it's been really great having this chat with you, Sydney. I want to hear more, but
I want to tell you what I'm looking at now, because
yes.
I want springtime to always be, I love spring.
You love spring. I love spring too.
Yeah. So I get bored. Someone else said this, the same movie over and over. I read the synopsis, and unless I hear raves about it, I don't go see the same movie over and over. I want something new. So I was getting bored. And I saw a movie with Mahler in it. I saw a Mahler's Fifth Symphony. I'm a Mahler fan. And it so moved me. It was Tar. After Tar, the same music was in Drive My Car, a Korean film. And I was so moved by the music. And I noticed a strong disconnect with the top seller on Spotify being Afrobeats. And the movies don't have any soundtrack. And I talked to Prudence. I talked to the Berlin market, and I said, I want to bring film music into the market. I think we could make a lot of money for the composer and the producer, but the composer, using that music of movies in other ways. So I saw Omen of Balogi last year in Cannes, and he came out of music video. He created this Congo, Belgian film. And in that film, he used music, and he made 4 different soundtracks for each character.
Wow.
And they can be used. I know there are new ways to make money from music in film.
Wow.
So that's what I'm working on with Prudence. And I've got to raise money, which I've never done in my life, but to do it.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything. And congratulations for all the amazing achievements. It's so great. And I'm, happy to have had this opportunity to have this chat with you. Well, thank you so much for being part of this. And please, let's give it up for the amazing Sydney Levine.